Hey everybody, Manga Mike here, and we're back with another video. And in this video, we're going to be talking about 5 reasons why you need complementary characters. Let's begin. Alright everybody, so we're going to be talking about complementary characters, and before we get started, I want to do 2 things. First, spoiler alert, I am going to be talking about Hunter x Hunter, so if you don't want to hear some of the things about Hunter x Hunter that you might not have seen before, if you really want to watch the show, please don't watch this video. And then also, I'm only going to really be talking about stuff up until the Greed Island arc. I haven't gone past that quite yet, so a lot of my analysis is going to be based around that as well. So I do want to kind of also define what I mean by complementary characters. So these are going to be characters that support your main protagonist by having something that they might not have. And this could be strength-wise, magic-wise. It could be also, and this is kind of what I'm going to get at a lot in this video, but it's also going to be emotionally, right? There's certain needs and stuff or certain character traits that might be a deficit of your characters that other characters will fill in. So for instance, a character that's super book smart but not street smart meets a character that's super street smart but maybe not book smart. Those are complementary characters. They work well together, right? And in this next piece is just that they can be protagonists, they can be antagonists, they can be anything, right? It doesn't really matter. I'm going to focus on protagonists in this particular video, though. So let's get started. Number 1, no one likes Mary Sue characters, right? This is why it's really important to have complementary characters. You want your story to be well-rounded, and you want your character to fail at times, and then you also would like for your character to get, I don't know why that keeps happening, to get past that particular failing, right? So in this particular case, I know that I said I wouldn't talk too much further than the new Greed Island, or the Greed Island arc, but everybody kind of knows about this. Gon is a character that is very, he's just very fun and loving, and he's just kind of, not a lackadaisical character, because he can be very serious at times, but he's a character that he's kind of emotionally there, and he doesn't kind of give in to this like killer instinct, kind of like Killua does. But we have this moment in which he kind of breaks, right, and he transforms out of anger, and he kind of pushes past his limitations within his own magic system, and it does come with a great price. But this is a perfect example of why this kind of thing is super important to have. All these complementary characters are great to have, because now there's also, I haven't seen this part yet obviously, but I'm sure that there's going to be some kind of like pushback with Killua, because Killua sees Gon as this character that's past all that, that's beyond all that, and can show him a new way. And now Gon's kind of this character that, Killua is probably like, well, maybe we're not so different really, and how do I feel about that? So that's important to think about, because now it creates new problems for your characters to have to kind of go through. Number 2, there's more emotional investment within your story. So for instance, like this particular scene, I'll actually talk a lot about this in the next point, but this particular scene is important because if you look at it just from a outside perspective and you don't have Killua being a great complementary character to Gon, we wouldn't really care that this character gets booted out of the exam and fails the exam because he killed somebody during the tournament, right? We wouldn't care. But because Gon and Killua have been working so hard to bond and to have this friendship, and for Killua it's important for the audience to see this growth in his own character, where he's starting to see he's not just this killing machine, right? He can be a person that other people can relate to, can be friends with, and all that is extremely important, right? And it creates this emotional investment for this audience. If you had Gon be this character and all the other stuff that Gon is, it wouldn't be nearly as satisfying, right? So that's another reason why you can have more emotional investment with these complementary characters. And then the same is true of Karapika, right? So we have this friendship between the two that's very similar to the friendship between Killua and Gon, except for not as dramatic, where Karapika just has trouble trusting people, and he doesn't feel like people can relate to him because of the significant loss that he's had. And I'm going to actually get into this a lot in this next piece, but you have an entire arc around just this character, right? And his like being hell-bent on revenge. And it makes for such a great arc, and we're emotionally invested in this because him and Gon complemented each other so well in the beginning that now we've started to have some kind of investment with Karapika as well. And that doesn't happen again without a great complementary character. And also, it just wouldn't work as well if it was Gon going through this too, because he's looking for his dad. That's his whole goal, right? He wants to be a hunter so that he can like look for his dad in different lands that he might not have had access to. So yeah, it creates these interesting plots and subplots, and that's point number 3, right? So when you're doing your story and you're having rising action, you kind of have this situation in which it's like they are trying to they're trying to accomplish a task, and they get sidetracked. They do this thing in order to accomplish the task, and then what, right? And then what happens? So you have this situation in which if they succeed, like at what cost, and if they don't succeed, then like how far down in that hole have they now gone, right? So after they become hunters, now that's the next step, right? It's okay, now they have to go on to this next journey. And for Karapika, that journey was, I need to start to find the Phantom Troop. I need to pass the real hunter's exam, learn about my magic, find this particular troop, and avenge my family, right, and my people. So I think, at least so far, this has been one of the best arcs that I think I have ever seen or read in anything. I really love this arc. And it creates this situation in which we have this character in Karapika that is he's hell-bent on revenge, and he's getting ready to kill basically the entire Phantom Troop, and his magic itself is just geared towards, or at least part of it is geared towards, only trying to kill the Phantom Troop, and it makes it extremely powerful, right? So he has all the weapons needed to do this, but he's stopped, and he's stopped because of, again, this relationship that him and Gon have. And it's not Gon's strength that helps this plot move along, it's actually his friendship and his love, right? And that's really important, and I think that tells a lot to us as the readers about why this particular arc is so moving for us, even though the main character isn't really doing that much. It's Karapika, right? His character is now doing everything. And then this next piece is you get this variety in moods, magic, and fighting, and it creates conflict within the story itself between characters, and it also creates this sense of the world being a little bit bigger and a little bit more realistic than it actually is. So we have Gon, his magic, his mood we already kind of talked about. He's like this fun-loving character, and his magic system is even fun too. He has like this rock paper scissors technique that is very playful in itself, and it does a great job of complementing him. And then you have his fighting style in general. When he's like fighting somebody like Hisoka, for instance, he's very, very frantic, and he just really badly wants to land a punch, right? And he wants to prove himself. And that's kind of like his story throughout. He has to prove himself. We have that in juxtaposition to like Killua, for instance, who like he has something to prove, but not really, because he's super powerful already, right? He wants to be able to defend himself. He wants to be able to kind of live up to his family name, but also he's branching from it, right? And we have this character that has this, the echo step and this like assassin-esque kind of like magic system that is very different from Gon's, kind of traditional and playful magic system, right? But that, again, this doesn't happen without interesting other characters, because you can't have Gon have all of this stuff, right? He becomes a Mary Sue. You don't want that. And then that was perfect. And then Kurapika, right, has this other magic system that he himself has split off into two, right? When his eyes become, or when he becomes filled up with a specific kind of emotion, his eyes change color and he's almost like a different being. So he was able to split his magic system into two. And again, like, if this was Gon, right, or any main character, say like you can even look at Superman as the main character. When he has all of those powers, his character really falls flat and he feels like a cheat code and it's not fulfilling. But when it's other characters that have this form of magic, it's like, oh my gosh, like this is so awesome. And it's not the main and it makes it feel more fun, right? And you can kind of do this by taking your main character, writing him the first time, or her or them. And after you do that, then you go back through and say, which parts does this of this character do I absolutely want, and which parts can I kind of delegate to other characters, right? Which things can other characters kind of fulfill? And that's a good way of maybe thinking about developing a complementary cast of characters. And this last point, you're going to reach out to and retain more of an audience if you have a wider spread of characters. I think that's just kind of common sense. Like if your main character just becomes non-relatable because of how perfect they are, then your audience is going to be kind of minuscule, right? Because you could just have, for instance, you could just have a white male character that dominates everything. Again, like, how many people can really relate to that? If you have a white male character with a black female character complementing that character, and then another character that might be gender fluid or non-gender conforming that is of a different race, then you have a wider cast net of characters in which you can kind of gain more of an audience. Now, I will say this though, you need to do your research. Don't just put in these characters thinking like, oh, I'm going to get more people on my side in this story and people are going to watch and read and all that stuff just because I have these characters. Don't do that. Do your research. Look up stuff. Don't just guess, right? Because then it comes off as offensive and you don't want that either. But you want to have variety because no story is just a monolith of specific like races or genders or anything like that, or sexual orientations. It doesn't really feel realistic because it's not the world we live in. But anyways, I'll kind of cut off the video right there. I really do hope that this was helpful. And to those of you who are bigger Hunter x Hunter fans than I am, if you, if you want to destroy me in the comments, that's fine. I'm sure I messed up a few things here and there, but that was my perception of the story so far. And as always, if you did like, please make sure you leave a like down below. I really appreciate it. And if you would like to, please subscribe. I really want you to become part of the Manga Mike community, and I'm trying to hit that 1K before the end of the year. But anyways, other than that, I'm Manga Mike, and I'm out.